All right, guys, let's start. Today's meeting, as you all know, is about the first thing that we do when we attempt the essay paper. Call it the brainstorming, call it rough work, call it frameworking. It's all the same. And today's meeting is going to be an interactive one. It won't be a monologue. It won't be the case that only I'll be speaking and you will be listening. Rather, it will be an interactive exercise, and I want you guys to give me inputs. I'll call names and you guys will be giving me inputs. This is how the meeting will move ahead. So let me first share the screen with you. And I can see there are many students here. There are many new students, and there are also old students who are part of my essay, Smash Essay 2022. Pawan is here, Shishir is here, Ratandeep is here, and there are other people. Abhi is here. Okay, guys, if you can open your cameras, please do, because I'll be interacting more with you guys if your cameras are open. Yeah. Anshul, Chandrakant, can you guys see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Pawan.
Yes, sir.
All right. Saurav, it would be better if you could arrange those students upwards who have their cameras on, please. Okay, so let's start quickly without wasting any time. The first logical question that comes to mind is, what exactly is brainstorming? Why do we do rough work? What is the idea or what is the motive behind doing rough work? Kyun karte hain hum rough work? Starting with you, Pawan.
Sir, to get enough points to write, so to explore our dimensions. So how we are going to approach in this essay. So that is the main intention of doing framework, sir.
How will be approaching the essay?
Yes.
Okay. Fine. So can't we just start writing? Sagar, you are raising hand. You can just open your camera and you can ask your question. Why can't we just start writing the paper? Why this step of having a complete brainstorming sheet, thinking for 15, 20, 25 minutes, even 30 minutes on it, and then starting writing the essay?
Sir, so that we can align our thoughts in a sequential manner.
Okay. Who's this, please?
Sir,
Palak.
Yes, sir.
So that we can keep our thoughts sequential. Fine. What else? Shriram? Harshit? Sandeep?
Sir, to have a objective mind and not to write in haphazard manner.
Okay. For ensuring objectivity.
Sir, to organize ideas in a manner.
To keep the essay organized.
To maintain coherence.
Fine. To ensure coherence.
Sir, stick to the subject matter.
Very good. Very important point. Avoid digression, right?
Yes, sir.
To outline the different aspects which have to be covered in the essay.
Sorry?
To make an outline for the or a framework for an essay to approach different aspects of it,
Okay.
like historical, geographical, and etc.
Okay, okay. So you're saying to have a blueprint of what we are going to do exactly.
Yes.
Fine. Okay, these are all the major logical reasons why do we indulge in brainstorming rough work? See, this is a very basic question and everyone knows the answers to it. This is nothing new that I'm speaking here. Why rough work? But this question needs to be asked and discussed because this is a very neglected component of our essay writing. We neglect it subconsciously because this is something which won't be coming before the examiner. This is between us and our thought process, and that's why somewhere or the other it gets neglected, but it is the first and most important component of our essay writing. And how exactly we'll be understanding that in the course of this meeting. Okay, another important point that has been asked time and again by students, new students, old students alike. How do we bring in dimensions? How do we bring in examples? How do we bring in facts, figures, whatever? First of all, I would like to ask this thing. Is there anyone who finds that they are unable to put in many dimensions? They are falling short of ideas? No one?
Yes, sir.
Who's this, please?
Ranjan.
Sorry? Anyone falling short of ideas or dimensions?
Yes, sir. Me.
Your name?
Ranjan.
Ranjan. Okay, what exactly is the issue that you face, Ranjan?
The issue is that what are the dimensions that I can put into the essay body?
You can't think of many dimensions. You can't put it on paper. That's what you are saying. On the contrary, are there any students here who think they have surplus dimensions, who have more dimensions than required, and they don't know how to put it on paper coherently?
Yes, the same.
Yes,
I
sir.
have them.
Your name, please.
Sir Sriram.
Kiram. And I believe Palak. Okay, you have surplus dimensions. Then how do you organize your essay? Palak?
Yes, sir. I organize based on whichever dimension seems more important and appropriate according to the topic. So if there's a dimension which can, like, it's not very apt or appropriate, then I could easily skip those dimensions or focus only on the dimensions which are more in sync with the topic.
Which are in sync with the topic. Fine. So we'll be addressing both these aspects as to not having enough dimensions, not having enough ideas. On the contrary, having more ideas, but not being able to put them in an order, in an organized manner. First of all, let's discuss about templates. See, a very basic template. Again, nothing new in this. Have you heard about this, Estelle?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. What is this, Estelle?
Sir,
Political,
it's the political,
economical.
environmental, societal, technological, economical, and legal.
Okay, this is an acronym. Nitin, क्या ढूंढ रहे हो? Fine. This is an acronym for political, economic, social, technological, environmental, legal. As simple as that. Some students tend to extend it further. Speech lit. Again, it's an acronym for social, political, environmental, economic, cultural, historical, legal. I for both individual and international, T for technological. Thirdly, again, this is for those students who find it really difficult to bring out more dimensions and ideas. What do you understand by the syllabus approach?
So
Anybody heard about this?
Yes, sir. Going by GS1, GS2, GS3, and GS4. what are the different topics we mentioned in the syllabus.
Okay. I can see your name. Your name, please.
Sir, I'm Pavan.
Sorry?
Sir, I'm Pavan, sir.
Okay, Pawan. Fine. Syllabus approach. See, we have been preparing for mains, GS1, GS2, GS3, GS4. What are the sub-bits of the syllabus, or more broadly, what are the major subjects that we have been studying? Starting with paper 1, say for example, there is world history in the beginning. What else?
Society.
What else?
Art and
Geography.
heritage.
Geography. Okay. What else?
Art and
Indian-
culture.
Art
Indian-
and culture. Okay. What else?
Indian national movement.
Okay.
Indian
National
freedom
movement.
struggle.
International aspect.
Okay.
Society.
Social issues, we have incorporated society already. What else?
International aspect.
Okay. When we speak of art and culture, do we also read those basic NCERTs for ancient and medieval India?
Yes.
Yeah. So we can we include ancient and medieval here?
Yes.
Right. Okay. What else? Paper 2.
Polity, governance, social justice. Yeah.
Okay. Social justice, various schemes can be included in this.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else?
That's
Paper 3.
economical
Agriculture.
development. Agriculture.
Economic development. Fine. What else?
Agriculture.
Agriculture.
Environment,
technology.
disaster management, science and technology, and human security.
Biodiversity.
Security.
Internal security. Okay. What else in paper 3?
Environmental aspects.
Environment.
ठीक है, environment. Okay.
Science and tech.
Fine. Paper 4.
Ethics, integrity, and aptitude.
Or morals. Beat, pastel, speech lit, or ultimately syllabus approach when it comes to deriving ideas, points. We have many ways. Now this is a rough skeleton, starting from world history, society, geography, art and culture, national movement, ancient history, medieval history, polity, governance, social justice, and so on. Having these templates in mind, having the structure in mind, I don't think anyone should fall short of ideas in the first place. And this also answers a very common question which students ask, that what should we be studying, what should we be reading, or how should we be preparing content-wise for essay? So again, the answer is by doing nothing else apart from your GS preparation. This is all GS preparation. We are doing nothing else apart from our GS preparation. But let's take one of these templates into consideration, which is speech lit. And the sample topic that we'll be taking is can you read the topic, Pavan?
Simplicity is ultimate sophistication.
Okay. Remember this topic? Where have you seen this?
2019 question paper, sir.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So
Asked by
2020. Yes.
Yeah, this has been asked by UPSC, and we are taking a reference to the template of speechlet. Okay. Now what we'll be doing, an interesting exercise, guys. First of all, we'll identify the keywords and we'll just write down all these abbreviations, social, political, economic, whatever, and we'll start firing the ideas very randomly, and we'll try to fit it in the given template. And what we'll be learning through the process, we'll understand that when we are done with the exercise. So quickly elaborating. Economic, environmental, cultural, historical, legal, international, individual, technological. Okay. Now, guys, first of all, tell me what are the keywords in this topic?
Simplicity and sophistication.
Simplicity and
Sophistication.
okay. These are the keywords, simplicity and sophistication. Why have we noted these keywords here? Firstly, we are not going to talk about the main part of essay writing. Still, in our essay writing, and those who have been in my Smash essay course, they know that especially in philosophical essays, we tend to incorporate a definitional para. And in that definitional para, we identify the keywords and then we elaborate on those keywords. So first thing we do is we have identified and noted the keywords in the given topic. Secondly, now we know, as the topic demands, whatever ideas, whatever dimensions, whatever arguments, or whatever examples that we are going to put on this blueprint of ours, of worksheet of ours, they'll have to be incorporative, or they'll have to incorporate these two keywords, simplicity and sophistication. If it is just talking about simplicity, then it would be out of context. If it's talking about just sophistication, again, it's out of context. It needs to have both these components, simplicity and sophistication. Starting very quickly, doesn't matter even if your ideas, even if your dimensions are a little bit out of context or a little bit irrelevant. That's okay. We can pick and choose later, but let's see what dimensions we can think of collectively. Come on, starting with you, Sriram, Pavan.
Sir, it's historical lifestyle of Gautam Buddha, Mahatma Gandhi.
Okay. So can we put it under the head of history? Buddha.
Yes.
What about
Yes.
Buddha? What about Buddha do you find simple yet sophisticated?
Sir, to follow Madhyang Marg.
What else, guys?
Sir, Mahatma Gandhi.
Let your ideas flow.
Mahatma Gandhi.
Let your ideas flow. Okay, we can think about fine-tuning them later. Yeah.
Sir, Mahatma Gandhi, being a lawyer, he used to be live life in Indian style, neck to body.
Okay, you are giving example of Mahatma Gandhi. I'm just trying to make it more specific here. Could we use the example of Charkha? Now, Charkha was a very simple machine, but it was seen as a challenge to British domination.
Salt
Yes.
also.
Right?
Yes.
Just noting that point here.
So we can also write the quote, simple living, high thinking.
You want to write quote?
As in, like, I think it is said by Mahatma Gandhi, if I'm not mistaken, simple living, high thinking.
Fine. See, we can have a different column here for quotes. Quotes come to your mind with respect to the topic. Okay. What else?
Sir, lifestyle of Ratan Tata.
Okay, what about Ratan Tata?
Sir, corporate social responsibility without gaining much profit for the society, welfare of the people.
CSR. Okay. What else? Simplicity yet sophistication.
Sir, example of Sudha Murthy for her minimalistic living.
Again, this would come under the category of individual, right?
Yes.
Okay. What else, guys? Any ideas from cultural, environmental, legal
Sir?
domain?
Sir?
Yeah,
Sir,
yeah, please.
Sir,
Anya?
I'm not sure if it can be put in this way, but I think the simple living we can refer to tribal communities or smaller communities from living simply in an ecologically sustainable manner and therefore making the best use of their resources and not harming the environment.
Basically, you're referring to tribal lifestyle.
Cultural answer, it comes under ecological and environmental as well.
It's your perspective.
They're
You can
not-
equally put it under ecological as well.
All right.
So political.
Sir, in cultural
Swachh Bharat
Indian
Mission.
village culture. Concept
Yeah,
of Indian
what about
village.
political?
Sir, Swachh Bharat Mission. Simple idea. Obtaining a major goal.
Okay. And under which head should we put it? Political.
Political, I
So
think.
social.
It can well be categorized under political because ultimately it's a government program.
Political move.
Yes,
Also
sir.
under cultural because it's related to human habits.
So the IBC framework was simple, so it succeeded, whereas previous attempts at bankruptcy code like Surface were complicated and they
Very
failed.
good. Can we put it under the head of legal?
Yes, sir.
Yes, both legal and economic.
Okay. What else?
Sir, in social head we can put Indian village culture.
Sorry,
Indian village culture.
What about Indian village culture?
Sir, simple living and non-materialistic.
Okay, they are living simple. Okay, I'm writing it down. But what's sophisticated about it? That's okay. It's simple.
The doctrine of basic structure.
Can we say? See, you referred to village life. Can we say simple living, village or rural people living in rural areas have relatively simpler lives compared to urban folks, but they tend
Yes,
to be
sir.
relatively healthier compared
Yes, sir, tend to be healthier, happier also. Sir.
Sir, agricultural aspects like
cultural aspects like
using the organic or zero budget farming or man-made natural manure. And traditional practice like counter farming, terrace farming to save the soil erosion.
Got it.
Or the plantation drive that has been carried to save the forest.
Organic farming. Okay, I've just noted natural fertilizers, organic farming. We can extrapolate it accordingly. What else, guys?
Sir, the concept of basic structure going for the pro-democratic principles.
Okay, how is it simple?
Keeping the constitution transformative.
Sorry?
Sir, I just want to highlight one thing. So there is this sandbox technology in Ramappa temple. It is very simple technology. It helps to protect architecture and all. But it is actually disaster preparedness. Simple thing. Just sand, lime, and jaggery is mixed and filled into that pit, and it helps to protect temples from disasters.
Sandbox tech. Okay.
Sandbox technology in Ramappa temple. Used in Ramappa temple. This can be fit in cultural as well as disaster preparedness. Simple techniques.
Fine. See, we haven't put in the head of disaster preparedness here. We can, because we are not elaborating on the syllabus approach.
sir,
We are elaborating on the
yes.
speech reading, but
Yes,
we
yes.
we
It's
can
okay.
incorporate.
It can be in Technologica as well.
Okay, a very good example. What else, guys? What else?
Use of traditional medicines like Ayurveda, Ayush, Mantralaya, etc. in economical aspects so that we can save high money.
So you want me to incorporate this in the economic
Yes, sir.
domain?
Yes, sir. So that we can save our forex reserve or decrease the depreciation of rupee.
Sir, with respect to basic structure, sophistication is it helps in transforming the constitution, but even maintaining its basic character.
All right, fair enough, fair enough. Basic structure doctrine. If you are able to convincingly put your idea, you may very well use it. Basic structure doctrine.
Sir, in cultural, you may write.
Sir, capitalist economy.
Right.
Sir, capitalist economy, it is simple, allowing market to do its work, demand and supply, but it is sophistication that means big economies are USA, less sophisticatedly it allows management of economy.
Okay, efficient management of resources, that's what you are hinting at.
Yeah, yes, sir. Simple market and demand principle, demand and supply principle. But
fine. I'm incorporating
Sir, in
that as
cultural
well.
aspect, you may
See,
write
some
yoga.
people are raising hands. Tanya, studious guy, Mahesh Lavate. You guys can ask question directly. You just need to switch on your cameras. Okay.
Sir, role of NGOs in women empowerment. This can be fit in social aspects. Yeah? Role of NGOs and self-help groups.
Self-help groups, very good.
See, for example, Kudumbashri, for example, in Kerala, its role in women empowerment activities and empowering local empowerment.
So what you're hinting at, they are organized at the very grassroots level, a very simple organization of women, but they are having a far-fetching impact
in the society.
On the society, on the women. Very good.
Okay.
Sir, next Panchashila agreement. Panchashila agreement with respect to relationship.
What about
between
Panchashila?
countries. Relationship between countries with respect to relations.
So where do you want me to incorporate it? Political or historical?
International level with respect to international relations.
Sir, in political, we may write fundamental rights. Those ideas are very simple, but ultimate aim is for the welfare of people.
Yes, sir. Fundamental rights and DPSP.
So,
including reservation.
Panchayati Raj institutions can also be added in political.
Yeah.
Very good. And how do you use Panchayati Raj? Like how they are simple yet very sophisticated in their
Simple because at the grassroots level, Gram Sabha, every voter is included, and so that's why it is simple and significant because participative democracy and grievances are covered there.
Very good, very good. So they are leading to
environmental can be added about like renewable energy, like solar energy and everything. That simplest of energy which we see every day, the sun, we are using for converting it into electricity and power.
Solar power. Simple yet very effective, both cost effective, environmentally sustainable.
Sir, collection of cow dung and gomutra for the formation of the insecticide by the government. That will increase the farmers' income also. That is simple scheme by the Chhattisgarh government.
Natural fertilizers.
I think we have incorporated that already.
Sir, neem-coated urea.
Organic farming, natural fertilizers.
Sir, segregation of waste management. Segregation, simple, but help in waste management.
Okay, waste segregation, that can we put it under cultural head, because segregation at home at source is nothing but about human habit.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Sir, in cultural you may write yoga.
We
yoga
can.
culture. It is so simple.
Okay, what about yoga?
Sir, yoga techniques are simple for the benefit of healthier life, sophistication life,
Okay.
well-being and mental harmony,
Okay,
peace and harmony.
fine. Regarding yoga, can we put it this way? Simple techniques that can be done at home by anyone, and it's helping a lot in countering the silent pandemic of obesity.
Yes.
Can we put it this way?
Yes.
So midday meal was a very simple idea, but it
Guys,
changed.
please tell me your name before putting your point.
Sir, my name is Praveen.
Praveen.
I think we can put it in environmental international relationship, the soft diplomacy. So where this is a very simple way of diplomacy with other countries, but it's sophisticated and it results good. It may result good results. So can we put this soft diplomacy or a soft power?
We can put it, but let's remember one thing, guys. The simpler we keep our points and arguments, the better. The complex it will be our responsibility to put our point across. So under IR, I am incorporating soft diplomacy, as you mentioned. Okay, some girl was saying something.
Sir, Tanya, I was
Tanya.
actually saying, sir, I was saying that in technological, you can use the example of Mangalyaan and how the simplicity has been utilized to make mission to Mars successful.
Sir, environment, you may write environmental tourism, medical tourism.
Okay, how is it simple yet sophisticated?
Sir, in legal we can write arbitration.
Regarding medical tourism, how is it simple yet sophisticated?
Yes, sir. In medical tourism, you are using our traditional methods, sir, to gain economy for the country.
Okay.
For the country.
I think we have mentioned Ayush medicine, but still we can further elaborate it. We mentioned medical tourism. Fine.
Sir, in social we can put midday meal
Legal we
scheme,
can
which
write
was a
Arbitration and
simple
Conciliation
scheme.
Act and Mediation Act.
Okay. Midday meal. What about midday meal?
Yes, sir. It is a very simple scheme, but it has transformed educational and nutritional landscape of India. The outcomes are very far-reaching.
Very good. And under which head do you want me to put it?
So in the head social.
Okay. What else, guys?
Sir, we may use the concept of
Sir,
census.
Arbitration and Conciliation Act.
Check.
Sir, you may use the concept of census. Census is very simple, just to calculate the numbers, but we can gain caste census and all.
Okay, census, a very simple exercise.
Sir, arbitration
far-reaching
code
impact.
or mediation code.
Yes, sir.
Under which
Just
head
to-
can we incorporate it?
Sir, we may use it in historical also, sir, because from 1881 it started.
But
Or you
what
may-
are we conveying? We are conveying that yes, census is a very potent tool, although a very simple
sir.
one, but a potent tool. Can we
Yes, sir.
incorporate it under the head of economy?
Yes, sir. It may, sir, it may be used in economy also, it may be social also, because we can incorporate data and so that we can help in our policy making.
Sir, I'm Sujita. Sir, in the environment section, can we include this environment impact assessment, which is very simple thing to do by the bureaucrats or by officials, and it can create larger impact in future.
Okay, here we may say the idea is simple, otherwise the process is quite cumbersome. Fine, we can use EIA.
Really,
What is
it can create larger impact in future, right, sir?
Sir, the concept of data localization may also maybe a topic. Data localization is simple, just to put inside the India, and ultimate sophistication is foreign agency convention, contravention.
Put it under political because it pertains to a policy of the government, right?
Yes, and data localization.
Some girl was saying something.
Yes,
Sir, arbitration and mediation code.
One second. Actually, I'm not sure. I think pottery can be a cultural aspect also, as it was very simple but used as an antique piece, like sophisticated, and many people use them as an antique piece. But it is very
Sorry,
simple.
you are referring to, this is Sujata, right?
Pottery. No, sir. Sundara.
Okay, and what are you referring to?
So pottery.
Pottery.
Yeah, pottery in cultural aspect.
Fine. See, this is a new dimension, new idea, and certainly we can incorporate it in under culture. Fine.
Yes, sir.
So can we also
Pottery,
write
or
about
rather evolution of pottery, right?
Yes, evolution of pottery, or we can use pottery as an antique, so it shows the sophistication of pottery.
Okay.
Sir, in economics, we may write MSMEs.
Very good. And how does it relate to the topic? How are they simple yet sophisticated?
Sir, most of the MSMEs are less investment and rural for the empowerment of rural economy.
Can we say like micro cottage industries, micro industries,
yes,
despite requiring relatively less complicated or relatively simple technology, relatively less capital, they are the major job providers in the economy?
Yes, sir. Employment generation.
Okay. MSME under economic head. What else, guys?
Sir, family courts or Gram
Praveen is saying something. Praveen?
UPI transfer, because it's very simple way of transferring, but it has empowered all the people using the digital mode of banking, and it has added people into the banking. Can we add
financial transfers?
Financial transfers, so UPI methods or banking.
UPI. All right, very good.
General account
The
also.
concept of tribunals court.
No,
I think we are not allowing girls to speak a lot. I
yes,
think.
sir, mobile courts and Gram Nyalays, since they are so easy to access and simple and sophisticated, and also reduces the burden of the
Gram Nyayalayas. Can we also incorporate Nalsa over here?
Yes.
And can we put it under the head of legal?
Yes, sir.
Sir,
PLI. Sir, we may write PLI also in legal.
PIL.
Yes, sir. PIL.
Sir, in the technological head, we can mention the technology of vaccination, which was a simple technology, but it changed the health landscape of the world and increased our life.
How is vaccine technology simple?
Yes, sir. So because it used the power of the antigen to counter power of the foreign agent to counter itself. Like it is simple that if we are affected by something, we will develop our immunity. So we took the bacteria itself to develop our immunity further. Or sir, instead of vaccination, we could put pasteurization technique for milk, which was still simpler. It increased the shelf life of the milk.
This is more hard hitting. This is more hard hitting. Just putting in a point here. See, we are speaking about something that is quite simple, quite unelaborate, but having bigger, great impacts. Fine. So if we are referring to technology, if we could refer small technological innovations that had big impacts. Say, for example, pulley. Pulley is a small technology. And the way you mentioned pasteurization.
Yes.
Pasteurization has helped us in more than one ways. It has helped us in furthering India's nutritional fulfillment needs, right?
Yes, sir. And sir, export of milk and milk products, high value added export, which has given us forex earnings.
Sir, in
forex as well. Okay, pasteurization. That point is well taken. What else, guys?
You may write food processing in food processing.
Invention of wheel.
Mention of
wheel
and fire.
Very good. Basic technological innovations. But where do you want me to put it? Under technology or history?
History is more appropriate.
And so
another idea could be use of soft power by countries. The biggest example being how South Korea capitalized on its entertainment industry.
Can you repeat your point and tell your name, please?
So my name is Tanya. I meant that in international or cultural, we can say that the use of soft power by countries to build diplomatic relations and
Okay, we have
further the
already referred
nation's
that.
interest.
We have already used that point of soft power.
Sir,
Soft power, soft diplomacy, whatever we may call it. Okay, what else, guys?
Sir, in environment, you may write afforestation. Technique of afforestation. Afforestation is simple, just to
Okay, afforestation.
Yes, sir. Just to plant
Let me
some
add one
trees.
thing here. Let me add one thing here, guys. Let's try to be more specific. When you speak of afforestation, can we mention the Miyawaki method here?
Yes, sir. Yes,
So
sir. Of
instead
Japan.
we can use seagrass growth for environment, like seagrass growth over the oceans. That
Just
can
a
be.
moment. Afforestation in bracket Miyawaki. Fine.
Yes.
What about seagrass?
Sir, seagrass, they can be grown over the ocean, and they are much more good in for increasing the importance of that. That is, we take from afforestation.
All right. Okay.
Sir,
Very quickly.
seagrass,
We'll be taking
sir,
a few more points, guys, and then we'll move ahead. What else?
Sir, this is Palak here. I just had a thought that is it appropriate to mention the UPSC examination itself for simplicity in
Can you give an example?
Answer writing, it's more preferable that you have a simple answer instead of something that is very with too many jargons and stuff. So is that
Okay.
appropriate to write answer writing?
To be very frank, you are not the first person to ask this question. Fine.
Okay.
Like people, UPSC aspirants are so into it that they keep on giving their own examples of UPSC preparation process and all. We can use it. I am just noting it down here.
Okay.
UPSC process or preparation process, whatever. But it's always better if our dimensions, our ideas, our examples are broad in nature.
Okay, sir.
Fine. Like we mentioned MSME. Now MSME has impact on the entire economy of the country.
Right.
Okay. What else, guys?
So we can take
Sir, traffic rules.
Traffic rules. Very good example. How is it simple yet sophisticated?
Sir, it is simple to follow, but if we don't follow, then we will lose our GDP, because we are losing so much GDP due to the death of the people in the traffic.
Sir, to conserve human
very
resources.
good, very good. And under what head do you want me to incorporate it? Traffic rules?
Legal.
Sir, it is social also, and rule means in polity also, sir.
Okay, fine. Social.
Sir, fundamental duties also, because if we follow, then we will establish the internal security in the country.
Sir, diplomacy and dialogue at the world level.
We have already incorporated that. Soft power.
Give an example of Amul.
Amul.
Yes.
What about Amul?
So it's very simple, the concept of farmer producer organizations. So, but how it has revolutionized the production of milk.
Okay, although we have used the reference of pasteurization, but still, for the sake of mentioning, we'll mention Amul as well. Under what head? Social or economic?
Economics.
Sir, this is Sujita. Sir, in environment section, we can mention protection of wetlands, which is simple thing to do, but protection of wetlands.
Sir, in economy,
we have
you
mentioned
need,
afforestation Miyawaki method already.
Okay.
Wetland protection. Fine.
Sir, the motto of service before self of Indian Army for establishing
How is
peace
it?
and
How is it
protecting
simple
the-
yet sophisticated?
So it is simple as we can think of the world like our Prime Minister always say Vasudev Kutumbakam, the world is one, a family. So we can help them like simple
Very
and
good.
keep the peace in the world.
Very good. Vasudeva Kutumbakam. Can we mention it under the head of culture?
Yes, sir. Ancient culture.
So in social, we can tell about gratitude. Gratitude is very simple. But it gives immense social, it increases immense social relationships.
Gratitude. Can you give me an example?
So saying a simple thank you itself is a very, saying a simple thank you will definitely improve the social relations, sir.
Okay,
That is mentioned
fine.
in
I
the
get
CPREF.
your point. I get your point. But if you observe, we have tried to be as specific as possible. We are giving specific references here.
Yes, sir.
Let's try to not be generic in our references. Okay.
Fundamental
Sir.
duties.
Yeah. Yes, please.
Sir, in
Fundamental-
economy, you may use food processing industry. It's
Okay.
simple.
What about food processing?
Sir, in food processing, simple, we are using some conservatives to conserve, but it adds value and exports of the economy, ultimate sophistication, economic growth.
Okay. Is there a specific process are you referring to which is used in the food processing industry, which is quite simple yet very effective? Can we use example of pickle making in food processing industry? Use of salt for preservation.
Yes, sir.
Right. And
Yeah.
under what head can we put it?
You can put it in head economy, sir.
So I'm saying media can be
Food preservation, and in bracket use of salt. ठीक है.
Yes.
Okay. Final point, and then we'll move ahead, guys.
सर ethical dimension भी हम add कर सकते हैं.
Give me an example.
Sir, for example कि cultivating small values of honesty and speaking truth. These things make a character which helps us in our social and personal life.
Okay. So basically, I believe you are referring to moral education in a way.
Yeah. Yes.
Fine. So let's put it under the head of culture again.
Sir, in societal head, you may write dialogue and deliberation between communities.
Guys, okay, this list will be unending. Now we have taken down, we have written quite a good number of points in keeping with the topic. Now let's look at another important element, which we call as the counter perspective. You all can see my screen, right, guys?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what do we mean by counter perspective? My old students already know what I'm speaking about. Taking example of this very topic, simplicity is ultimate sophistication. We write majority of the write-up taking this premise to be true, taking this premise to be absolutely correct, that okay, simplicity is actually the ultimate sophistication. But after having written roughly 75 to 80% of the write-up, we tend to negate the topic. We tend to counter the topic.
Sir, we may write
this element is important because it helps the examiner to understand that we as a student are not only able to think on the topic but also beyond the topic. Now if I ask you guys, you have given me many examples, many references supporting the main premise that yes, simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. Can you give me some pointers where not simplicity but complexity is needed, or some other points on these lines?
Sir, democracy can be an example that it is a complex formulation of different pillars of executive, legislative, judiciary, and their functioning together. We need elections, which itself is a complex process. And that's why with all these complex features, we can sustain the idea of democracy, not via just a simple idea of public participation.
Nuclear energy.
So UN has a very complex structure with UNGA and UNSC, but it has successfully helped us in preserving international peace after the Second World War.
Okay, Palak, you were saying something?
Yes, so the laws have to be a little complex and not too simple to cover all aspects so that there is no confusion later on.
Okay, can we, taking your point forward, Palak,
yes,
can we mention Indian Constitution here, which is,
yes, sir,
which is the most verbose, most complex piece of constitutional text in the world?
Yes, and lengthy, yes.
Sir, even the
plastic
procedure
recycle.
codes.
What else, guys?
We can
Plastic
also
recycling method.
Okay, how is it complex and required?
Sir, it is a very much complex process because use of recent sophisticated technology.
Fine, I'm just noting it down. We can pick and choose later.
Sir, Indian
Sir,
society.
nuclear technology.
fusion technology, sir. Sir, nuclear fusion technology.
Okay, how is nuclear
Sir,
fusion very much required and how is it complex?
Sir, compared with the nuclear fusion requires just hydrogen elements, which is very complex thing to do, but yet it benefits a lot compared with nuclear fission. But its process is lengthy and costly.
Yeah, even the international community is still working on the prototype model. Various
yes.
countries are working together on it, but it may solve many energy needs in the future, not for the present generation. Fine, point is well taken.
The whole Indian
Sir,
society.
we may write joint family.
A lot of fault lines are there, but it is quite necessary to maintain the unity also.
You are referring to federation.
Not exactly federation, societal aspect. So much
Yes,
fault
sir,
lines, so much
like
diversity in India,
Indian
but
society is a
maintaining
fusion of
unity also.
various cultures,
Diversity.
multiculturalism.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we
Diversity
cannot
or
boil down
multiculturalism.
everything to
Fine.
just simple things like one religion or one language. We need to celebrate other things also. Multiculturalism is a complex idea, but it is required.
Let me ask you this: are you a Pol Science student?
No, no, sir.
Sir, concept of joint family.
Okay, and how is joint family a complex thing?
Sir, joint family is concept because of conflict rise between in the due to property and all, but it must needed because maintain support system.
So what you are saying, there is sort of a power tussle in joint families. Okay. And there is rule of the patriarch, the dominant male person in the family, and we may or we may not be willing to follow that that line. Okay.
Sir, a human brain.
Human brain, fine. Okay, we have many examples of counter perspectives as well. Human brain, again, it's a very complex machine.
Sir, in the recent scenario of COVID, scientific research and ethics.
Okay, what about COVID? How is it related to? How are you relating it to ethics?
COVID, during the vaccination, vaccine research process, they were going on telling that various steps of the research is not followed. But then in scenarios like COVID, when fast process is required, the whole lot of ethics cannot be followed.
All right.
So the whole process becomes very complex such times. This has
The
already
language
happened
barrier
many
in
other-
connecting with the tribal people.
Vaccine testing. Okay, guys.
So language barrier.
We have
Sir,
noted.
Maintain.
Fine. Again, this list
friendly
can go
relation.
on and on. It can go on and on. Let's understand the idea behind it. We have been noting many points for the last half an hour. First, in favor of the topic, then in against of the topic. Palak seems to be quite happy. I think she's able to understand whatever is being said. Fine.
Sir, international relationships in aspect of Indian relationship with other countries.
Yes. All these points are valid. Now let's understand what value are we deriving from this structure that we have made. Okay, those students who were thinking that although only one student said that he has issues in framing dimensions, I am sure there are other students as well. After having done this activity, one point is absolutely clear to you guys, that we have all those dimensions in our mind if we are writing mains, and even if we are not writing mains this year, if we have been preparing for prelims quite well, then we have all the dimensions, all the points, all the examples that we need to use in the essay. We don't need to go for anything else, do anything else. Even the quotes aspect, that gets covered to a great extent in the paper 4 ethics paper. That is one thing. Then comes another very important step. What we have done, we have kept on jotting down points as they were presented. As the points were fired, we kept jotting them down. Say, for example, under social, there is village life, healthier life, SHGs, example of Kudumbushri, midday meal, traffic rules, and so on. We have multiple examples under each head of this particular template of speech lit that we are using. But can we use all these examples, all these references in our essay? Certainly, we don't have that much time and we don't have that much space to use all these references. That's one. Another important thing, not all of these references, not all of these ideas are as compelling as the other examples. So what we'll be doing, we'll be picking and choosing the most striking examples, the most striking ideas. In other words, we'll be using those ideas, those examples, those arguments, which are most relevant to the topic, and we are confident that we will be able to convey it to the examiner. Because we might think that, okay, we know about basic structure doctrine, and this is a very simple thing, yet very sophisticated. But if we are not able to convey it properly, succinctly, lucidly to the examiner won't have an incentive to award us good marks. So we'll be choosing those points about which we are quite confident. So just to give you an example, from social, if I'm going to choose Kudumbushri, adding one more point here, if we are going to incorporate historical aspects, now under the head of history, we have given reference to Buddha, Madhyam Marg, Mahatma Gandhi, wheel, fire. We will incorporate these historical dimensions in the beginning part itself. We won't go this way that we refer some contemporary context, say for example, COVID vaccine preparation, COVID vaccine testing, and then we go back to Buddha. So that makes our essay very incoherent. We need to mention Buddha first, then later on we can make that reference to COVID vaccine. So just for example, I am confident about Buddha's reference, Gautam Buddha's reference. I just encircle it, or I just underline it, or I just mark it. Here I've underlined it. And I'm sure that I'll be using it as the first arrow of mine. I just write 1. Now I'm typing here. When you use pen, you can put it even better. Number 1 वहां पर लिख दिया. उसके बाद you have made reference to Buddha. You think you should be also making reference to Mahatma Gandhi, the example of Charkha. Then I'm just writing here 2. फर्स्ट मैं बुद्धा के बारे में लिखूंगा, सेकंड पैराग्राफ, अगला जो पैराग्राफ रहेगा महात्मा गांधी के बारे में रहेगा, हाउ चरखा was a very simple symbol of rebellion against the British rule. ठीक है, एक पैराग्राफ, उसका अगला पैराग्राफ मैंने डिसाइड कर लिया. Then Nalsa, I think Nalsa is quite a good example, quite striking an idea. यहाँ पर 3 लिख दिया. रतन टाटा, इसके सामने 4 लिख दिया. Now this is again a crude way of putting it forward. How I would have gone through if I am writing this essay. रतन टाटा के बारे में लिख दिया. Soft power, point 5 यहाँ पर लिख दिया. This will be my 5th para. Technology, sandbox being used in that particular temple. I've mentioned number 6 here. Pasteurization, I've mentioned number 7 here, and so on. SHG number 8, Kudumbushri, Swachh Bharat number 9, Ayush number 10, organic fertilizers or food preservation or use of salts in food preservation. Number 11, afforestation through Miyawaki method. Number 12, use of yoga to check the silent pandemic of obesity. Number 13, Vasudeva Kutumbakam. Number 14, and so on. Now let's come to the counter perspectives. Topic के favor में तो हमने काफी लिख दिया. Now we would be incorporating at least one counter perspective, maximum 3. We don't write many counters, because if we go on writing counter after counter, it appears more of a digression, which seems we are going against the topic, or we are deviating from the topic. So minimum 1 counter perspective, maximum 3. So we might take example of democracy under counter perspective. The complexity is involved in it, but very much required. Number 1. Then Indian Constitution as a very verbose, lengthy constitutional text. Number 2. Then human brain, again arguably the most complex machine in the world. Fine. What have we done here? We have marked our paragraphs in the beginning itself, and this is the sequence that we'll be following. But we haven't marked our introduction yet. We can choose any of the given points that we have already noted. Say, for example, we can take example of IBC code, Gram Nyayalayas, Panchashil, or Mangalyan. Okay, Mangalyan can be a good introductory point here. I'm writing introduction. Mangalyan ke samne, I've written introduction, I've underlined it. So I've planned it already. Pehla jo mera paragraph hoga, that would be on Mangalyan. I'll write that particular story of Mangalyan, how the process took place, how Mangalyan was executed, how it was simple in many sense, but it pushed India in the elite group of countries as far as space technology is concerned. That's my introduction. Introduction ke baad, what do we do? Coming back to the first thing that we did.
Sir, just a doubt.
Sorry.
Hello. Yes, sir. I had a doubt. Sir, in introduction, if we are using Mangalyan, so while describing it, should we be more technical about the launch vehicles and everything? Like, how should we put it?
Okay. I'll come to these questions. So let me first just complete regarding the structural aspect. Introduction हमने set कर दिया पहले, उसके सामने introduction लिख दिया. Second paragraph जो हमारा होगा, ये this we had already discussed. This will be our definitional para. What are the keywords? We have already highlighted the keywords in the very beginning. Simplicity and sophistication. So in the second paragraph after the introduction, we will elaborate on these keywords. What do we understand by simplicity? What is sophistication for us and all? And why is this paragraph important? Your definitional paragraph. See, this is even more applicable in philosophical essays. The topics inherently are relatively vague in nature. They are relatively abstract in nature. So by identifying and describing and defining these keywords, we are bringing in some degree of concreteness and objectivity to the topic. So a very important element of our essay and more so of the philosophical essays. Introduction लिख दिया हमने, उसके बाद definitional para. Then we come to the main body, and as you can see, हमने numbering पहले कर दी है, already कर दी है, starting from 1 to 14, 15, 16, whatever number of paragraphs we are able to write. ऐसा नहीं कि यहाँ पर 20 हमने numbering कर दी, तो सारे 20 की 20 हम लिखेंगे. We might not have that much time. Space अगर खत्म हो रही है, we'll use the counter perspectives and we'll go for the conclusion. Okay, see, this is in short the very basic, these are the very structural elements, the very basic elements of brainstorming, rough work. How do we do it? and how do we plan it. This is more or less the blueprint of our essay. If I tell you guys now कि इस टॉपिक पर एक essay तुमको लिखना है, I'm sure you guys would write an awesome essay because the blueprint is ready with you guys, and that blueprint is quite strong. The kind of arguments, the kind of examples that you'll be using would be very, very compelling. Okay, now whatever we have discussed, I'd like to know, is there anything about which you have doubts, something that you have not understood? I'd like to know your doubts. One after the other, please.
Sir, for introductions and conclusions, how many lines do we have to write, sir?
Introduction and conclusion. Again, another very common question. See, our introduction and conclusion can be relatively linear compared to our body paragraphs. Speaking about lines, see, again, this is subjective because if your font size is bigger, then you need more lines. If it is small, you need more, you'll need less lines. But roughly, if your essay is of 1200 words, you need to write 1000 to 1200 words each essay. Then your introduction can extend to 120 words and even beyond. Nothing wrong with that. Many students have this conception that you need to keep it short from the very beginning, and you break it. Many students break the introduction down into many parts. That conveys a very negative message to the examiner that the student is presenting the introduction in a very disjointed format. Whenever we are changing para, we are shifting to a new para. The examiner expects a fresh new idea, a fresh new argument. Okay, so that's about the length of your introduction and conclusion. What else, guys?
Sir, my question is regarding when we are
Who is
writing
this, Tanya?
these points. Yes, sir.
Yes, Tanya.
So when we are writing all these 10 points, if we are trying to convert them into paragraphs and writing them in the main body of the text, how do we ensure that there is a very natural flow, all these points being put together? Because otherwise it will seem as if we are throwing ideas one after the other.
Okay, so what you're saying, how do we ensure that there is an organic connect between these paras and flow is maintained in the write-up? That's what you're asking, right, Tanya?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, Tanya, see, I think this question is more relevant to the topic on structuring of the essay. How do we maintain flow? How do we maintain coherence? How do we use connecting sentences? That is, how do we use different paragraphs? How do we maintain internal structure of paragraphs, the 3-stage format that I teach to my students? Argument, followed by substantiation, followed by an inference. So we'll need to have a different meeting altogether for that. We can't expect to address this in a Q&A format because that topic is that elaborate. Anything else pertaining to brainstorming, doing rough work, guys?
Good evening, sir. My name is Mukund. Sir,
Yes,
my
Mukund.
doubt is that how much should we write in the counter perspective thing? I mean, what would be the weightage for it?
Okay, I think you have joined late. See, what we have discussed, after having written the major part of a write-up, we tend to negate the topic. So roughly after having written 75 to 80% of the write-up, we incorporate minimum 1 counter perspective. We can incorporate 2 and maximum 3. We don't overdo counter perspectives or negation. Fine, Mukund.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Any other doubts, guys?
Sir, should we be writing the meaning of the terms in this essay, or can we skip it? Like explaining what we understand by simplicity and sophistication, or should we skip it?
That's a very important component, Palak. We have just discussed that our second paragraph would be our definitional paragraph. To put it in another words, what are we doing in the definitional para? We are involved in deconstruction. We are deconstructing the topic. What are the essential elements of the topic. Simplicity, sophistication. What do we understand by these terms? We are elaborating it in our own language. Right? Hope that answers your question, Palak.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
So there's another
What else,
question,
guys?
Tanya. Sir, I have another question. I was wondering if during the time of writing the essay in the mains exam, I'm unable to think of many points under, say, social or legal or any other particular subtopic in the speechlet format. Will it be considered against me if my essay focuses is more heavy on, say, economical or financial or another section of the speechlet format, or do I need to maintain a certain balance between all the different types that are mentioned?
Okay. See, first thing, we have already seen that there is no fixed rule, there is no fixed template that we need to use. We have seen pestle, we have seen speechlet, we have seen the syllabus approach as well. That's one thing. So even if you don't have something under the social head, it's not an absolute necessity that you need to analyze the social dimension of that topic, unless that topic so demands. Say, for example, there is a topic on women empowerment. Then you are most notably expected to analyze the social dimension. Otherwise, your argument will feel incomplete, right? Depending on the topic. Or say, for example, if you have another topic on agriculture. So naturally, you'll have to write more on the economic domain, right? Because agriculture can be considered a sub-bit of your economic domain. So if your topic of the essay is relatively more objective, relatively more pinpointed, so your dimensions will also be restricted in that sense. On the contrary, when it comes to philosophical essays, our essays tend to be more diverse because the topics, as we already discussed, they are in nature. They are more open-ended in nature. So more dimensions can be incorporated over there. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Okay. Any other doubts, guys?
Yeah, hi sir. So this is Ishwar. So regarding this, so actually we made the body and we made points. So should we go for the explanation of the points, or how can we justify in that? So are we right for every point? It's simplicity and sophistication, for everything.
Okay, it's a good question, Ishwar.
Yeah.
But again, that would fall under the topic of structuring of your essay, which is the subject of the next webinar. You have mentioned that should we be mechanically writing in every paragraph? Simplicity is XYZ, simplicity is XYZ, simplicity is sophistication. That's what you have asked, right?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Okay, so certainly we are not expected to do that, because if we do that, our essay would appear to be childish, immature.
Yeah.
We need to project our essay as a very formal writer.
Yeah.
And the ways in which we can do it, that we'll understand when we discuss the structure. Say, for example, I have already referred to the 3 steps of every paragraph: argument, followed by substantiation, followed by an inference. Inference is the part of your para where we explicitly or where we consciously link the paragraph to the topic, where tone of the paragraph is kept intact while linking it to the main demand of the topic. So this question of yours gets addressed there. Fine. We'll need to wait till that Zoom meeting. Ishwar. Okay. Any other doubt, please? Regarding brainstorming, frameworking, rough work.
So where are we going to do the rough work? I mean, on the which page?
Who's this? Who's this?
So it's Divyanjali Verma.
Divyanjali.
Yes, sir.
Where are we supposed to do rough work? Certainly not on the first page. because don't want to show it to the examiner.
Yeah, yeah,
There
yes, sir,
there is space given for rough work, and a heading is given specifically that this space is for rough work. We'll be using that space for rough work.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Okay. Fine. What else, guys? Any questions? If you have any more questions, please ask. Otherwise, we can end this meeting. Palak, Mukund, Pavan.
Sir, hello.
Shishir, yeah.
So Shivani this side. Good evening.
Where are you, Shivani? The entire meeting is done.
Sir, I'm here only. I'm listening.
Okay. What's your doubt?
So I always had this doubt that I mean, people can people draw diagrams in essay paper? Like I've never seen anybody drawing diagrams, but can it be done?
Okay. See, again, this would be more relatable to those students who have been following my Smash essay program. See, I always keep on saying to recognize this fundamental difference between a GS answer and an essay. To compare, we are given credit for dumping content, facts, figures, data, examples, writing in point format, presentation, doing presentation in a diagrammatic form, unless it is unless it is relevant to the topic, we are given credit for doing this in GS answers. But in essay paper, the examiner is not interested in knowing our knowledge. We already have GS papers for that. Then what is the examiner interested in? The examiner is interested in knowing your perspective, your point of view. How do you look at the given topic? What is your point of view over the topic? So that's why we keep it a free-flowing write-up rather than using point format, rather than dumping many facts, figures, examples. We tend to analyze more. There is a difference between dumping of facts, dumping of content, and analyzing that content. This will be understanding in that other meeting where we'll be discussing structuring aspect of the essay paper. So coming back to your question, Shivani, diagrammatic representation, again, credit is not given to diagrams in the essay paper. It has to be a free flowing write-up.
Okay.
Sir,
Okay.
I have one small doubt.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, Praveen is also raising hand. You may ask your question, Praveen, Pavan.
Yes, sir. Sir, I have a small doubt. So, sir, you were telling that to just support the statement in the 70% of the essay and give a counter perspective. And so, sir, I have received some comments. I have seen some copies of toppers also where they have opened multiple dimensions of the statement itself. So should we do that, sir? So, like, is it advisable to open multiple dimensions in the same topic? For example, eccentrics are needed, or maybe the eccentrics on the essay on the eccentrics, which is given in the paper of Civilsdaily test 2. So, should we open that why eccentrics are needed, like why eccentrics are present in the society, why eccentrics are not understood by the society? So, should we open these different dimensions, or should we just support the statement and give a counter perspective?
Can you recall the entire topic, Pavan?
Sir, 1 second, sir. Actually, I couldn't remember the topic, sir. Give me some few seconds. Just give it a few seconds. Because I have received in my initial comments regarding the same thing, sir. So that is why I'm asking you the question. So just a second, sir.
Till you find the topic, I'll just mention this thing.
Yes, sir.
What I ask.
So the topic is: do not fear to be eccentric in opinion. For every opinion now accepted was once eccentric.
Okay. And what dimension do you want to open here?
Sir, why should we be eccentric first in first position? Like, why should we be eccentric? So what are the advantages of eccentric and why people are not accepting eccentrics?
Okay. See, don't you think the first of all, the topic says you need to be eccentric in your opinion. Basically, the topic says you need to be eccentric in your opinion, right?
Yes. Yes, sir.
If we keep on writing why we need to be eccentric or why are we not allowed to be eccentric,
Yeah.
and how some people are eccentric, some are not. Do you think we are doing justice to the topic? What is the main demand of the topic here?
No, sir.
What is the main demand? You need to be eccentric.
Yeah.
Right. So we'll need to elaborate on that topic itself. If we go on opening these topics back to back, this will again appear more of a digression, and that's precisely the reason what we just discussed, that we won't be overdoing the counter perspective aspect. We would be countering the essay, but at the later part, and we'll be limiting it to 2 to 3 counters only. Otherwise, it appears more of a digression and credit is not given. And see, Pawan, this is a tested strategy. This strategy has been used by my students who have found themselves in top 100, top 200. Yes. Nisha Chaudhary, rank 117. Pawan Vijay Vargiye, rank 65. These people have performed very well using this strategy only. So if you speak of rankers will have different opinions. What have worked for them, right? And from our experience, this thing has been working for everyone. So that's why we are pushing it so firmly.
Yes.
Fine, Pawan?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Got it.
Okay. If there is any question, do let me know, guys. Any other question?
Sir, I'm Praveen here.
Yeah, Praveen. Yeah, Praveen. Do you have a question, Praveen? No, you're not very audible, Praveen.
Yeah, right now it's okay, sir.
Yeah, tell me.
Sir, right, we have discussed about the course in our discussion. So is it necessary that we need to mention about the course and we need to justify those courses in our essay, or is it mandatory to mention the course in our presentation, in our essay? That's what my question is.
Okay. Is it necessary to use quotes in essays?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Just as Palak has mentioned this quote, simple living, high thinking. See, now this is the last question, guys. I'm taking another meeting is scheduled. So this is the last question. As this quote that Palak has mentioned, simple living, high thinking. Many students make this mistake of using creative elements just for the sake of it. Say, for example, many students use quotes, stories, anecdotes, case studies, news headings, etc. And they think that yes, the examiner will be impressed now. Why will the examiner be impressed? We have just learned that the examiner is not interested in knowing how knowledgeable we are or how creative we are. We are using these creative elements, be it quotes or be it anything else, to put across our point of view. If we are mentioning this quote, simple living, high thinking, are some words of wisdom said by so and so personality. What was the context of it? And why is this relevant? We are using it to convey this meaning. If we just write this quote and leave it just there without having a connect either with the topic or with the subsequent para, it serves no purpose at all. I hope that answers your question, Praveen.
Yes, sir.
All right. Fine, guys. It has been a long meeting, almost 1.5 hours long. Hope it has been quite insightful to you guys.
Yes, sir.
And
Thank
those
you
who
so
are
much. It was nice.
okay, and those who are already part of my Smash essay group course, if you have any other questions, you can put it on the WhatsApp group of which you are part. And other students, if you want to know more about the essay program, be it for the 2020 mains or the 2023 annual essay program, you can contact the relevant person and they will provide you with the relevant link where you can register, and they will also be providing you a discount. All right, guys, let's end it here. It was great interacting with you guys. Good night.
Good night, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Good night.